So for today's video, I found out what happens when you mix post-World War II German engineering and the American quest to make just the most badass guns on the planet. And I'll tell you what it makes. It makes a gun that is so hungry that not only is it expensive to feed ammo to, it eats everything. Trees, cover, even enemy morale. Today's subject, the M60 machine gun, otherwise known as the pig.
Can you bring me the gun of Rambo?
Part 1, 2, or 3?
I've only seen part 1.
The M60.
So our story starts back in February of 1957 when American engineers looked back on our machine guns that we've used in the past two wars, being World War II and the Korean War, and they just figured, man, these aren't as good as they could be, or at least they're not meeting the demand that we are currently facing and possibly will face in the future. So, with that being said, they look back at World War II German machine guns like the MG42, which was an awesome crew serve belt fed machine gun used by the Germans with a ridiculous fire rate, and the FG42, which was basically the German version of the BAR, which I think we all know and love. Well, the engineers said, what if I take this gun and this gun and I make them kith? Well, out of that you get the M60. Now, the M60 was produced in 1957, but it didn't see real use until the Vietnam War broke out, which at that point it was heavily used. This thing was used in absolutely every platform and variation you could think of, which is why it's classified as a general purpose machine gun. You could find these guns anywhere from being carried by an infantryman or three to being used on helicopters, tanks, and even those badass river boats that we all remember from the movies. Yeah, that was the M60, also known as the Pig. Now, it got its nickname, obviously, not through being a nice, skinny physique that's easy to carry and mild mannered. No, 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 no. It got the name The Pig from being a heavy fucking gun. It required three crewmates to run it. You had the gunner assistant, and the poor bastard that had to haul all of the ammo with it. And speaking of the ammo, it fires 7.62 NATO, which love that round. So back in Vietnam, this gun was very widespread used, and it was a love-hate relationship. If you go to any Vietnam vet that was an infantry guy, grunt, whatever you want to call him back in the day, you would get one of two answers. You would get, that was the best gun I've ever used and I loved it, or you would get, that fucking gun tried to kill me more than Charlie did. And the reason for it was heavy. Saying to yourself, sure shot. It was a light machine gun. It can't have been that heavy. How heavy was it? The pig weighed in at 23 pounds, and I'm sorry, but going through just an open flat range, I don't want to carry that, let alone carrying it through various jungle environments, loading it and unloading it from vehicles such as the helicopters and the boats that it was mounted on. I would want no part of it. But with that being said, the pig was a pretty cool platform. So, as I stated earlier, if you were an infantry guy that was unfortunately labeled as the machine gunner, you had two buddies with you. So obviously you had you, the guy shooting the machine gun. You had your gunner assistant, which would carry your extra barrels, which by the way had bipods already mounted on them, which made it even more not fun. And then you had the poor bastard hauling all the ammo that you're going to spit either at Charlie, through Charlie's trees, or through Charlie 3 huts down, through all 3 huts. So, yeah, it was a heavy gun, but it was super successful in this theater. And I have to say, it's probably one of my favorite machine guns of that era. Just because, number one, it's got a badass personality. Let's face it, if you're in Vietnam and your gun gets a nickname, chances are it's got a nickname for one of two reasons. Either it really sucked and nobody liked it, or it was one of the most badass guns out there. Now, in the case of the pig, both. Both reasons is why it got a nickname. Said, let's break down into the numbers and true characteristics of this gun, because I'll be honest, the TISM got a hold of me a little bit. I went way down the rabbit hole, and all of this stuff is stuff that I thought was just really cool specifications on this gun. So, starting out, it was a gas operated short stroke piston style weapon, which we already know is a very reliable firing mechanism. I mean, it just is. The rate of fire was anywhere from 500 to 650 rounds per minute. Let's just pause and appreciate that. 500 to 650 rounds of 7.62 by 51 NATO a minute. I'm sorry, but if you're on the receiving end of the pig, you're not walking away from that. And another cool thing was the muzzle velocity and the effective range of this gun. So take the fire rate with the ammunition it's using, leaving the barrel at 2,800 feet per second with an effective range of, I'm just going to say it, 1,200 yards. Now, I'm sure as we all know, effective range of a weapon is usually a fairly conservative number that it's kind of watered down. It's more or less an average of the effective, well, fuck. I didn't eat lunch today, and I think that's what's wrong. Not very pig of me. But 1,200 yards and 650 rounds per minute, I'm sold. And speaking of sold, the cool thing about this is a machine gun that you, a U.S. citizen, can own as long as you don't have felonies and you're willing to pay the transfer fee and you can afford to feed it. Huh. You know, I might need to start an only. I forgot I can't say that website's name on YouTube, but I'm gonna have to do some very questionable things to be able to afford one of those. But mark my words, when I can, you guys are gonna see it on the channel. And speaking of which, guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, why not? Help your boy out. Help your boy get an M60 that maybe you guys can see me shoot. But YouTube doesn't like full auto. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the story. So, a fun fact I learned about the M60 during my research on this was that the SEALs used it in Vietnam. Well, okay, sure shot. The SEALs used a gun. That's super cool, but what about it? They cut it down and turned it into a CQB version of the M60. Basically. Probably not exactly the right terminology, but we're going to use it because that is cool as shit. And that does nothing but speak volumes for the versatility of this gun. And even though in 1994 the M60 was retired in lieu of future, basically versions of the M60, the 249, the 240, etc., it's still kind of in service. It's used in very specific positions throughout the U.S. military, but needless to say, the one position it'll always hold is the one in my heart, and I'm sure your guys's. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video on the M60, aka the pig. And be sure if you like the video to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell, and leave a comment if you were a Vietnam vet or knew somebody that got to interact with this thing. Tell me the story in the comments because I'd love to read it. And as always, guys, stay hydrated. Go to the range. Take your guns. If you have an M60, take it and send a video to our Instagram because I would love to see it. And if you don't have something cool like that, your high point works fine sometimes, I'm sure. But yeah, go to the range, take a friend, bring more people into the community, and yeah, that's it for this week's video. And I'm going to go set up that questionable blue website account so I can afford an M60. See ya.